Hello, and thank you for joining us on Classic Vinyl Podcast. This is the podcast where we listen to and review songs and albums from the classic vinyl era of the 60s and 70s. I'm one of your hosts, Justin. Like always, I'm joined by my other host, Tyler, in the basement studio.
Thank you for letting me in again.
We continue to let you in. We may still have time. We might still get by.
What you gonna do when everybody's insane?
It kind of reminds me of The Doors for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Going Insane.
This song really captures a lot of emotion.
It does. It's a very good song, and it's I kind of feel bad because there's so many female artists that I really enjoy. That's kind of why this song is, I think it's the second one we've done by heart, but Corey from Frankfort, Kentucky is the one that emailed in and wanted us to do Crazy on You by Heart. Heart's a band I just absolutely adore.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we get right into it, and we'll give a little history on the band Heart first.
For sure. Corey, thank you for this awesome hit. This is a real experience.
So Heart's an American rock band. They were originally formed in Seattle, Washington in 1973. They were originally formed and founded by guitarist Roger Fisher and bassist Steve Fossen. Of course, I think we all know Heart now as Ann and Nancy Wilson, but they weren't part of the band originally. But a couple years later, in 1975, as we know Heart, Ann and Nancy Wilson joined the group, Michael DeRossier on drums, and Howard Leese on guitar and keyboards. Now you got Fisher, Fossen, and DeRossier had all left the group, though, by 1982, and they were replaced by Mark Andes on bass and Danny Carmassi on drums. Hopefully I've got those names right. They're generally considered a hard rock band. And I think what kind of made them interesting, especially in the 70s, were they were a female-led hard rock band.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of special. But they definitely crossed over to folk music a little bit. I would say folk rock. And then in the 80s, they obviously had a huge resurgence in pop rock and had some big hits there. And it was in the mid-80s that they had those songs like What About Love, Never, These Dreams, Alone. Huge, huge hits, which I think a lot of people know Heart from the 80s specifically, where and may not know a lot of their 70s offerings, which is a shame, I guess. But the band, all in all, sold almost 50 million albums worldwide. They had 20 top 40 singles and 7 top 10 albums, along with 4 Grammy nominations. So they've released a total of 15 studio albums, 9 live albums, 9 compilation albums, and 64 singles. And out of those 64 singles, 35 of them were released as music videos on MTV. You do remember MTV, don't you, Tyler?
I do remember MTV.
It's gone now.
Yeah, it ended.
Well, let's be honest. Music television has been gone for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've just kind of been playing reality TV and things like that. But
seems like it.
Yeah.
Kind of a resurgence of, you remember this guy? We're going to have him host a reality TV show with teenagers.
So in the U.S., they have had 9 albums in the top 20, with their top being their self-titled 1985 album, which hit number 1. Their 1980 Greatest Hits live album did hit number 13. They had 8 albums in the top 20 in Canada. 1977 Little Queen hit number 2. 1990's album Brigade hit number 2. And just 3 top 20 albums in the U.K., which their 1990 album Brigade was their highest charting at number 3. Now, as far as their singles are concerned, in the U.S., they had 13 singles in the top 20, with These Dreams, which was from 1986, and Alone from 1987. Those are their 2 top charting songs, both hitting number 1 in the charts. Now, in Canada, they had 14 singles in the top 20, with Alone and All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, both hitting number 1 in the charts. Now, in the UK, they did not have much popularity there until the 80s, with 6 top 10 singles from 1985 on, Alone, that one from 1987 being their top charting at number 3. So the band charted singles and top 10 albums in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and that's actually a record for a female-fronted band, but who really cares that they're female? It just matters that they're a great band. So when I say sometimes I feel bad about not recognizing as many female-led bands on here, obviously there's not as many, but the ones that we do have the privilege of listening to are amazing.
Well, and I think we try to be somewhat fair in representation. I don't know as though there was as many female-driven bands.
Well, not even close.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not ignoring the ladies. We appreciate whenever they show up.
Well, and it's not even really about that anyways. It's just about good music, right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't really matter if it's what color you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. None of that really matters. If it's good, it's good.
No, and Heart is good.
Without a doubt. So they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2013, deservedly so.
Mm-hmm.
They have influenced so many artists, and I guess the one good thing about them being female-led is that they've urged and influenced other females to get into music, and to me, that's the most important thing about that.
Yeah.
They're still touring to this day, but the only original members are Ann and Nancy Wilson. So, that's kind of what Heart's known for. Ann has got an amazing voice. Nancy is an amazing guitar player, as this song very well shows. But do you want to get onto the song review?
Let's do it.
And now it's time for the song review.
So Corey from Frankfort, Kentucky suggested we do Heart Crazy on You. We appreciate the suggestion, Corey. He's a longtime listener, and so we thought we'd give one of his songs a go. And this is a song we're both very familiar with. I'll ask you, what is your history with it? I know you know this song.
Mm-hmm. My history is that Corey has really good taste.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Heart, always have been. This drags me back into, I'm kind of your typical Heart fan that fell in love with them in the 80s. And this drags me back into the 70s, which is a little raw, unrefined. I don't know what word I'm going to use to describe it, but it's probably a little bit more primal.
Yeah, and not that I disagree with that, because I love their 80s stuff too, their pop rock ballads and things. I like that. But the 70s music from Heart, Dreamboat Annie, which is long considered one of their best albums, which is what this song's off of, they're just a good rock and roll band. And like most bands did in the 80s, they kind of succumbed to that pop sound, but it was still had good guitar, good singing, and a really good hook and feel to it. Heart's Crazy on You, it was released as a single on March 15th of 1976. The B-side of that single was the Dreamboat Annie song. Their first single released in the U.S., actually, but their third single released in Canada. The song and its success led to the band being signed by CBS here in the States. They were actually previously on a small label up in Canada called Mushroom, which is kind of an interesting record label.
Okay.
But once signed, the band did relocate to Seattle. This was written by Ann and Nancy Wilson with help from guitarist Roger Fisher. Obviously, it's sang by Ann Wilson. Is recorded at Canbase Studios in Vancouver, Canada. Produced by Mike Flicker. And Mike Flicker's produced a lot of famous bands. Obviously, Heart, Poco, Al Stewart, Randy Meisner, a bunch of others. So this song, Crazy on You, is off of their debut album, Dreamboat Annie, which, like I said, is a lot of people consider their ultimate album to listen to. The album itself reached number 7 in the U.S., number 20 in Canada, and number 36 in the U.K. It is certified platinum here in the U.S. by the RIAA. So Nancy Wilson has stated this song was inspired by a Moody Blues song called Question. It's a song I'm very familiar with. I kind of get it because it has that pushing rhythm. It really does. And that's what she said. The fast rhythm guitar in that song was the groove that she was really looking for to kind of open the song. And I can see the feeling. I don't think the songs have anything to do with each other, but I get where that comes from a little bit.
Yeah, you can see the inspiration in the high speed of the tempo or the rhythm of it. Yeah.
This song really just speeds along. Yeah. It's straightforward rock and roll. So Ann Wilson wrote the Crazy on You lyric about finding solace from the stressful state of the world in the arms of her then boyfriend, Heart guitarist Mike Fisher. I think the other song we did, Magic Man by Heart, was apparently about Mike Fisher as well. So she's writing from, no pun intended, the heart here. But so Mike Fisher actually stopped performing and became their sound man after a while. Maybe the relationship did it to him. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he just got a little too wrapped up in the whole curlers in her hair and stuff. And so he's like, maybe I'm just going to stay I'm going to go into the sound booth and you go into the recording studio. You stay on that side of the microphone and I'll stay over here.
Yeah, maybe he was just intimidated by her talent.
Maybe he was intimidated by her sister's talent because she is a hell of a guitarist.
Well, and Ann's a hell of a singer, so that's why they make such a good band. But So Anne was in her mid-20s, and she didn't see a bright future for her generation. Does that sound familiar for the time?
Oh, for sure. And like, let me paint a little bit of a picture of the mid 70s for you. So Vietnam's still going on. We're also in the middle of a Cold War with Russia. And so kids are practicing duck and cover underneath their school desks. And this is the world that they're growing up and coming of age in. It's pretty bleak.
Well, the crime was rising. There was gas shortages. Everything was going on. That's part of the reason this band was spending so much time in Canada, I think, is because half of the band, the male portion of the band, was probably ducking out on the war.
Yeah.
And, she really sings her fears in this song. I mean, we may still have time. We might still get by. Every time I think about it, I want to cry. I mean, if you think about it, she is laying those fears out. And we kind of have that today a little bit too, but it's hard for me, not being of that age, to put myself in those shoes. But it had to be a scary time, especially for the kids.
Oh, for sure. There's been certain periods throughout history where the news gets a little intense. Like currently, we have a very hot political environment around the whole world, really. After 9/11, people were glued to their TVs, couldn't get away from the news and the images of the planes flying into the towers. And the same thing happened during the Gulf War in Kuwait. They had the oil fields on fire, and there's these things. The LA riots was another time. So like you'll get these events that really capture the history of the world in the making, and people are riveted to it. And it's hard to pull away from it without feeling some sense of helplessness and hopelessness.
Well, and I think that's kind of what this song is about, but at the same time, it's a love song.
Yeah.
I think in a recent interview, somewhat recent, Anne has said that, kind of like the things are so troubled today, it was kind of a call to your partner or your loved one and say, I know the world's crazy right now. I know everything just seems horrible, but I want to go crazy on you. I want to put everything and all my love and all my life into you.
Yeah.
And kind of try and forget about the troubles and put them on the back burner or something like that. I mean, it's kind of a hopelessness, hopeful love song, if that's a way to put it.
For sure. It's a great distraction from it all, if nothing else. But it's also something that's like, okay, let's intentionally divert ourselves into something that's more wholesome and more wonderful, something good, something that feels good. And that's why she wants to go crazy on him, because, well, with gas prices being what they are, there's nothing else they can do tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly true. So the song itself reached number 35 in the U.S., which seems very low to me. Number 25 in Canada, and was not released as a single in the UK. This song's been used on a lot of pop culture films, television commercials. You hear it all the time, not to mention that it's a very heavily played radio song. And unlike some others that I hear all the time, because I do hear this quite often, this is one I crank when I hear it, and I don't seem to get tired of this, from the opening guitar riff to everything. But Tyler, we listened to it a couple times. What are your thoughts on Heart Crazy on You?
I guess I'm so used to hearing like the lyric mid to late section of the song. When you have that acoustic opening with that acoustic guitar, it almost sounds like a different song. It has that same tune that you're familiar with, but it's just raw acoustic guitar, not the hard electric guitar that you're so used to with Nancy Wilson. I almost stopped you and said, is this the right version or is this the acoustic version?
So you're just not used to hearing the intro.
Not used to hearing the intro, not to mention that the intro does go pretty long. It's about 30 seconds?
I think it's closer to 45, 50 seconds.
I think you're right. It's long.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of surprising because I guess my mind doesn't recognize that's this song, because as familiar as I am with it, maybe listening to it on the radio, they trim it down and they cut off the...
I know there are several versions of this song. I think when I was researching a little bit online, I seen that there was like 7 different versions of this song. I mean, it seems like any radio I listen, I hear the full version now. And, I have this on vinyl and I listen to it on my daily playlist when I'm working and things like that. And I hear the whole version. So I don't know about those different versions very well.
I hope that everybody plays the entire version, because if they cut off the introduction, and like I think maybe a couple of radio stations have, they do a severe disservice to this song. It's a beautiful introduction. That acoustic guitar adds a whole nother element to it. We talked about that driving beat, the fast rhythm. This rhythm goes so fast. In fact, the guitar moves so fast that it almost feels out of control. And so that feeling of almost losing control, it kind of sounds like, well, is she making mistakes? Is she hitting wrong notes here and there because she's moving so fast? Or is it just kind of the intentional dissonance put in there to make you feel uneasy and feel like something's off?
And that guitar intro, Nancy has said that it come from inspiration from a Paul Simon song named Angie. So I haven't heard that song, or at least I'm very familiar with it, and we need to listen to it. But that guitar intro apparently was directly inspired by that. So yeah. I think it was intentional without a doubt.
It was not inspired by Barry Manilow.
I hope not.
No, not at all.
No, I hope not.
No, this is quite the opposite. This one is very fast-paced, and it's amazing how she does it. Because I really capture this feeling of angst and the uncertainty and the fear even that Ann Wilson's lyrics bring in later. And so she sings this young lady feeling like the world around her is just going crazy. And yeah, she wants to just go crazy on her boyfriend. And why not? Because that's what young love is. And in a time of so much uncertainty where they're sending boys his age off to war, the whole world seems like it's on fire. It's understandable that she's going to feel this way, and she wants to just attack him and enjoy him to the fullest while she's got him. And when I say attack him, I mean just, she wants to pounce on him and enjoy him.
No, I know what you meant.
Yeah. But this song, the lyric wise, it is gorgeous. It does go fast. And so it does take a couple of listenings through to catch some of the lyrics. We start off the episode by reciting some of the lyrics. And yeah, she's like, what are you going to do when everybody's insane? And that's exactly what the whole world was feeling like, is what in the world is going on? It was a dire time, and it made you feel really uncertain. What's tomorrow going to bring? Are we going to have a world tomorrow? But there's been moments all throughout history that make us feel that way. I think they perfectly captured it. Excellent performance. Beautiful work by everybody involved. What are your thoughts on this one, Justin?
Yeah, I love this song. I mean, it was on our list to do anyways, and that's what I try and do when I see these emails come in on suggestions. If they're on our list, we're going to do them already, but we've got a lot of them we got to get to. But yeah, the guitar intro, the acoustic guitar intro by Nancy is absolutely amazing. And the whole song too is because you're right, it kind of starts like it's a different song, but then as soon as it kicks in heavy with the electric guitar and everything like that. And I know she's not downplayed as a guitarist, but Nancy Wilson is an amazing guitarist, and Ann Wilson is an amazing vocalist. So really don't need to go into too much of that. I love the guitar licks in the chorus. Great guitar work throughout. The drums and bass are really good and heavy in it, especially, they really hit in those choruses. The keyboard parts in this thing fit perfect. They're not overdone or anything like that. And the song does end out with kind of a synth that sounds kind of like a little synth or a keyboard prolonged chord or something. But the one thing that really strikes me in this are the lyrics. You're always the lyric guy, and you're drawn to them more than anything. But this is the feeling I get from this song, is that the world's going crazy, and we can kind of relate to that today, right?
Sure.
But the way I take this song is the world is crazy. There's no fixing it, but I'm going to do whatever I can to enjoy myself with my little world right here, because if I dwell too long on this crazy world, I'll go crazy. And you listen to some of these lyrics that I think they're beautiful in this. With bombs and the devil and the kids keep coming, no way to breathe easy, no time to be young. I mean, that explains it. That's saying, okay, we're kids and they're trying to send us to war. They're trying to destroy us. They're trying to do this and that, and it's just crazy, but it emotes those feelings very well in the lyrics, but also in the music, because it kind of does go from that soft opening to the heavy hitting choruses, but it's also just a very sped up song all the way through. I think it's an excellent song. I've always really, really enjoyed this song. You want to rate the song?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
Okay, listener, if this is your first episode, I will briefly explain our rating scale to you. It's 0 to 10, 10 being the best, and I put this one way up there, Justin. This song's a solid 9, and it's a beautiful masterpiece of capturing that emotion of the time. And it's almost a pure 10 for me, really. It's a 9. Solid 9. Where do you put this one?
It's funny because we're a handful of episodes into season 4, and I think we've had the same rating a number of times, and this is going to be another time that we have the same rating because I rate this song a 9 as well. And I don't know what keeps it from a 10 for me. I really don't. It's an excellent song. I enjoy everything about it, from the lyrics to the feeling of it to obviously to the instrumentation. So very, very well done song, and the world's a better place with this one in it, without
Absolutely.
a doubt.
Yeah, so especially right now, give this one a listen because you'll feel the way that it felt back then and the way it feels today.
So, Corey, thank you for your suggestion for Heart, Crazy on You, an excellent song. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send us an email at classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any songs or albums you'd like us to rate, send them there as well. We really appreciate you taking your time to listen to us, and until next time, see you later.
See you.
Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.